Hey everyone, and welcome. So, we live in a world where pretty much everything is on display, right? But have you ever been scrolling and you come across a profile with no picture, or maybe an account with zero photos at all? Well, today, we're going to dive into the really fascinating psychology behind why some people choose to keep their images completely offline.
It seems like such a simple question, doesn't it? But wow, the answer is anything but simple. I think our first instinct is to make these quick judgments, but the reality is just so much more complex, and honestly, way more interesting. Okay, let's get into it. So on the surface, we might assume someone without photos is, shy, maybe a little secretive, or perhaps they just lack confidence. And look, sometimes that might be part of it, but the source material for this explainer points to much, much deeper reasons. When you look below the surface, you find things like a very conscious need for privacy, core personality traits, and a really strong desire for authenticity. These are often the real drivers. So let's go beyond those obvious, surface-level assumptions and really unpack the psychological reasons. First up is a super powerful motivator that isn't really about hiding at all. It's about taking back control of your own story in this crazy digital world.
And that brings us to our first major theme, the privacy imperative. In an age where oversharing is the norm, choosing privacy is a very conscious, very protective decision. It's all about controlling your personal information and your own image. It's a deliberate choice about what you share, and maybe more importantly, what you keep just for you.
This right here highlights a core philosophy, the belief that a personal life should remain exactly that, personal. And this isn't about being antisocial, it's about valuing boundaries. It's the simple idea that in a world where a picture can be screenshotted and shared a million times, you get to decide who sees you and when.
And this desire for control isn't just some vague feeling. It's a really practical response to some very real digital dangers. We're talking about tangible risks like identity theft, having your images misused for fake profiles or scams, and the absolutely terrifying reality of digital stalking. For these folks, not posting photos is a straight-up security measure.
So this quote summarizes the point perfectly. For a lot of people, maintaining privacy isn't about being secretive. It's a modern form of self-protection. It's like building a digital fortress to guard your identity in a really unpredictable online world.
Okay, so beyond external security, this choice often comes from some powerful internal factors, like personality and how we see ourselves. This brings us into what I like to call the validation-free zone, a place where your self-worth isn't measured in likes or comments.
A huge factor here is introversion. Now, introverts tend to focus more on their own internal world, rather than looking for external recognition. When you post photos, you're basically inviting public attention, comments, likes, DMs. For an introvert, that flood of external feedback can feel, pretty draining or just totally unnecessary. Most social media platforms are built on this really powerful psychological loop you see right here. You post a photo, you get likes and comments, you get that little hit of validation, and the cycle just repeats. The whole system is designed to keep us engaged and coming back for more of that social approval. But what if you just step outside that loop? Psychologically independent people, they get their self-worth from internal sources, not from what people are clicking on a screen. They just don't need likes to feel confident or valued. So for them, the whole idea of posting photos for approval, it just doesn't compute. It makes the whole act of sharing feel kind of pointless. And this leads us perfectly into our third and final major reason, the active choice for authenticity. For some people, it's not that they can't participate in social media culture, it's that they consciously choose not to. They're picking real life over a perfectly curated online feed. And honestly, this is a really emotionally mature decision. Social media feeds are just filled with everybody's highlight reels, right? And that can trigger some serious feelings of inadequacy when we compare our messy real lives to someone else's polished online image. So by opting out of sharing photos, these individuals are actively protecting their own mental health from that whole comparison trap. This slide just lays out the core contrast so well. On one side, you've got the world of curated social media. It's idealized, it's staged, it's edited. And on the other side, you have a commitment to an authentic life. Actually living your experiences fully instead of just documenting them and rejecting that pressure to create some unrealistic public persona. So, when we put all of this together, a whole new perspective starts to emerge. This choice to not post photos, it isn't a sign of weakness or fear at all. In our hyper-visible world, it can actually be a really quiet form of strength.
All right, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered. The decision to stay photo-free online is not some one-size-fits-all thing. It comes from this rich mix of motivations, right? Including very real privacy and security concerns, introverted personality traits, a strong sense of independence from what other people think, a deep desire for authenticity, and sometimes even cultural or family values that emphasize modesty.
And that leads to this powerful final thought. In a culture that so often equates being seen with being successful and happy, choosing to remain private, to define your own worth, and to live authentically, that can be an act of profound personal strength.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. In a world that is constantly demanding our attention and our image, what does privacy actually mean to you? How do you choose to walk that line between your public and your private self? Thanks for joining us.